Broadstreet, thank you for joining the webinar, first of all. Broadstreet is an ad platform, which you're probably well aware, that serves as both a plugin and a replacement for Google DFP, OpenX, and a number of other ad servers. So you might be thinking, what is the difference between Broadstreet and those other platforms? Well, those other platforms tend to specialize in the delivery of advertisements. And so yeah, you get a creative from a designer, you upload it into Google DFP or OpenX or your ad platform, and it delivers the ad and it generates some numbers at the end of it. And that's traditionally the role of an ad platform. But Broadstreet, which was founded about in 2012, has worked almost exclusively with publishers who do direct digital ad sales. And we've learned a lot about that type of publisher over the last 5 years. We realized that they have a very different set of needs than DFP, OpenX, etc. are actually delivering. So Broadstreet is an ad platform which actually expands its role, not just from the delivery aspect into the sales and the renewal aspect. So we do our absolute best to help our publishers and our salespeople sell and impress their clients to basically close the sale. And they close that sale, they run a campaign with our creatives, optionally our creatives, which perform very well. And at the end of that campaign, generate reports that impress the client enough that they'll renew. Because it's hard enough getting the ad appointment for salespeople and publishers. There are a lot of people who want to get an ad deal, growing competition from Google and Facebook. So it's hard enough getting that competition. So the last thing we want our customers doing, especially as an ad serving company, is basically showing up and selling the same thing that can be bought on Google and Facebook. We want our clients to impress their clients, deliver something that's really going to captivate the prospect, get them to sign, and will make them happy enough at the end of the campaign that they'll actually renew. So we break it down to those three steps: impress, perform, renew. Impress the client, deliver something that actually performs, because we all know that standard banner advertising doesn't always perform well, and there's a lot of chatter in the industry. Is it even worth it? Does it work? And the answer is yes, but in the current state of ad tech will not allow it to work as well as it could, because you've probably heard programmatic, which relies on standard banner advertising. Standard banner advertising itself does not perform well, but if you deliver something more engaging, more interactive, with more brand value, higher impact, it actually does perform really well. And we can show you how you can create that scenario and actually make it really easy on your sales staff. So the way we hit that impress piece is through our ad formats. So we have 64 ad formats. Last week we had about 55, so we had a little bit of a burst in the last week. Our ad formats are kind of sourced from ideas internally at Broadstreet and also from our customers, because we listen very closely to our customers, which is something you might find to be a bit of a differentiator with Google DFP and sometimes OpenX, which really doesn't offer much support or deal with their customers very often. So we listen to our customers and we frequently ask them, what are your ad sales hurdles? What could help you sell? And it started off early on as like, okay, I really want something beyond a standard banner ad. I feel like these aren't working. And then as we start moving into our different, building different ad products for our publishers, they say, well, I really need something for real estate, or I really need something that the advertiser can update more frequently. So we start to hit all these use cases and built out a very powerful library of ad products. And we realized that, I think this is a direction that makes a lot of sense for publishers who sell direct digital ad sales or ads. So we're going to go through. We have some of the newer ad formats. Let me just do a quick question check. Okay, we already have a question. And it says, can these ads be sent out in an HTML format, or do they just work being placed on a website? So our ads can appear in a few different ways. I'm not sure I 100% understand the question. Can they be sent out in an... So if they're placed on a website, they are HTML, so they definitely run very well on websites. Oh, so yes, they can be sent out in emails, and that's actually one of our best, I think, one of our best features. So I'll go over that. So if we take a look at some of these ad formats, we can see instant Facebook, instant Twitter, instant landscape, page peel. If you scroll down, we have a lot of different formats that all address different use cases. Some of them address specific needs that the publishers have had. Like, basically I've run out of sidebar space or leaderboard space. Do you have anything? So then we came up with the slide in and the sneaker and ways to work around the lack of inventory. And someone would say, I have a real estate agent that I really want to mock up ads for, but I can't afford to have a designer mock these things up every time I want to pitch a real estate agent. So we came up with the real estate gallery. Ad of the day for advertisers who had something different to advertise every day. It could be a restaurant or something like that. Lunch specials, dinner specials, things like that. We've also had some proofs of concept. So the Amazing Cube is one of our most popular and most despised ad formats. Some people hate it and won't go anywhere near it, and some publishers love it because it does sell. So I will focus for this demo on our ad formats which actually sell or are the most popular among advertising clients. The Cube is actually extremely popular, but some publishers just don't want it on their site. That's totally understandable. When we built this, it was kind of a proof of concept to show what an ad could be, as outrageous as that might be. But it ended up being a very popular one. So if you scroll through, you can see a lot of different ad formats. The process for creating all of these is pretty much the same. So what I'll do is I'll go back to our social ad formats up here, and these right here, Instant Facebook, Instant Twitter, Instant Instagram, are historically our best sellers. And Instagram somewhere here, right? Instant Instagram. And if we go to the top, we have a few more. So you can see Instant Instagram, and this one says landscape. All right, so historically, the social media integrated ads, which we'll see right here. Historically, the social media integrated ads could only be in portrait form like this, but they can also display in landscape form. And right now, this is in portrait form. This should be changed, and I'll show you how to create that. But the social media ads basically sync with an advertiser's social feed, be it Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, every hour. So the latest content is in there every hour. And you can see that a lot of us know advertisers and ad prospects that are social media savvy, that do a really good job on Instagram. And some of them might even be of the opinion that that's all they need for advertising. But the Instagram really gives a method for the advertiser to boost their audience, because not everybody in the world follows them on Instagram or Facebook, and even the people who do follow them on Instagram or Facebook don't see all of their posts. So this is kind of a brain dead way for advertisers to just keep doing what they do well. Take pictures, post some of the social media stuff, post it to your regular social feeds, and their ad is being updated. So these are really easy to create for the ad sales product. They can be spec'd out very quickly. There's really no designer needed, so you don't have to kick a design back and forth with the designer and the advertiser when you're getting it created. And over time, as the needs of the advertiser changes, maybe they have specials or events they're trying to promote, they can control that messaging right from their phone, or however they're making their social updates. So it's a very powerful ad format, and it really kind of embodies what we want our ad formats to be. A lot of platforms offer some ad formats, but they're still really hard to create. We've probably seen those drag and drop ad builders that are probably more trouble than they're worth. Sometimes just easier hiring someone or paying someone $50 to create the ad. So we want to make it really easy to create these things, and I'll show you how we actually do that. So what we're going to do, this is our dashboard, and this is the home page right here. We have home, advertisers, we have our reporting, work requests, and I'll go through some of the different options. I'm going to show you very quickly how we can create one of these social ads. So we're going to say Instagram example. Looks like I did that before. And create that. All right, so we created, this would traditionally be an advertiser account. I like to demo with Rook Coffee, which is a very popular coffee chain in our area. And what we'll do is we'll create a landscape. Oops, you have to spell it right first. So what we'll do is go into recently released, because we did just release this, and you can see instant Instagram landscape. So this is our ad gallery. You can see we have a lot of different categories. We have recently released, obviously these are the ad formats that came out in the last 60 days. IAB Plus, which is a spin. I'll so we can see the full counts, which is a spin on IAB standards. So we're used to the 300 by 250s, the 728 by 90s. We have about 23 ads that fall into the IAB friendly category, and also do something a little bit, a little bit more than a standard IAB ad. So this is the split reveal, which when you hover over, it'll display some text, expandables, flyouts, some things we've seen before, scratch off ads. This was another proof of concept that kind of got popular. Flipper just flips around, and you can see we try and hit as many different cases we can. Quick spec, if you have an ad sales meeting in, let's say 10 minutes, and you want to bring something to the ad sales appointment, because a lot of ad sales people know it's much easier selling something that you have in hand and you can show the advertiser than trying to conjure up some image of what they could have on your website. If you can quickly spec out an ad and bring it to the appointment, even if it's not the ad the advertiser is eventually going to buy. With Broadstreet, it very often is, but if it's not the ad they're going to buy, at least seeing something, helps the advertiser visualize what they're buying and what they're spending their money on. Top sellers, so we always keep tabs with our publishers. What is selling really well for you? Social ads, the cube, that falls on the top sellers. Social media integrated, this is strictly the ads that are social media integrated. Some ads that just require adding photos and text. So if you click on that, we'll just take a look and see. Again, the split reveal. Believe it or not, a little fun fact, we did run a test on a fairly large website to see how it would perform. We just ran a picture of a cheeseburger, and the click-through rate was phenomenal. People just couldn't resist it. So just an interesting insight into what actually performs well. We see 300 by 250s with phone numbers and addresses on them that get a dismal click-through rate, but a good creative really does perform well. Countdown, real estate gallery, these are all things that you can just upload some photos and text, and I won't go through all of the different categories, but just touching on that first question, which was can you run these ads in newsletters? The answer is yes, and we have an entire category of newsletter friendly ads. And you might be thinking, well, if these ads are made with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, how can I run them in a newsletter? Because most newsletter clients won't let you actually do that. Broadstreet has some special tech that'll actually convert things to a snapshot, which run very well in newsletters, and I'll show you guys an example of that. In fact, we just sent one out yesterday, so I'll show that example in a bit. And then we have our in-stream, in-content ads. For Bethesda Magazine, Bethesda Magazine has a setup where if you click into any given article, we'll go into mobile mode so you can see what I'm talking about. Every third paragraph has an ad right after it. So these are the same sidebar ads that shifted into the content. So that really brings up the click-through rate, because before they had this set up, those ads were all being pushed to the bottom. And when ads get pushed to the bottom, they're being loaded, which drives up the number of impressions, but they're not being clicked, which means that click-through rate is being driven down. So another Broadstreet feature is that we do help with integrating ads into the content or wherever the publisher wants them. You give us a set of rules of where ads should appear on a page, and we can implement that. So we have a category for those in-stream ads, in-streaming content, and then we have a bunch of others. Like I said, I won't go into all of them, but I just want to highlight that we do try to address specific use cases. So we'll create this instant Instagram account. I promised it would be easy, and it will be. So Instagram example. I'm going to leave the Instagram username. That's all you need to actually create one of these ads. I'm going to leave Rook Coffee in here. Sometimes I use Lululemon. Because they usually have some videos and different things like that look really well. Actually, maybe we'll just use Lulu and see what happens. Width, height, this is a landscape, so you can pretty much set it to almost any size you want. By default, it's 800 by 200, but if a publisher had 1,000 pixel wide space at the top, kind of a leaderboard, kind of that big prominent ad at the top is usually a pretty big seller and usually the most lucrative seller for a lot of our publishers. But you can set it to pretty much any size you want, and it'll respond really nicely. And let's see, what else should we do? We can set any other comments, destination, whether we should show the comments, a word limit. You can see that sometimes posts can get pretty wordy, not so much on Instagram, but on Facebook. you'll get an entire novel in a post. So limiting that to about 100 words works, or if you don't want to limit it, that works too. So I have no idea what's in Lulu's Instagram account, so let's create it and see what we get. Okay, so this ad was generated. It's not terribly exciting. Lululemon very often will post videos. So one thing that's nice about these social ads is that it'll accommodate the video too. So this becomes a video player that the user can see, and this ad does respond really well. So usually the way I demonstrate that, go to broadstreetads.com/examples. So this is Lululemon, and if you want to see what it looks like in portrait mode, basically, if you ran this at the top of your site or in your content, how would it look on mobile? Well, it would actually look just like it does in the sidebar. When you run it in the sidebar, you can see it converts very nicely to this portrait mode. So quick question check. All right, we got another question. Does this ad then go onto our Instagram account? So it works. This is the way it works. Is that let's just say that you had a client who was like, okay, I'm interested in this Instagram ad. This essentially becomes your creative. So in the same way that you would upload a creative into an ad server like OpenX or DFP, this becomes your creative that if you're using Broadstreet as an ad server, you can run just like you do through DFP or OpenX. Or if you want to drop this in as a creative inside DFP or OpenX, you can just click up here and go to Get Ad Code, copy this code, which is kind of like a YouTube embed code, and you can paste this in as a third-party ad in either one of those systems, and it'll run as a creative. So think of this as a creative which updates dynamically, stays in sync with the advertiser's social accounts, and just runs on your publication sidebar like any other sort of ad. So I think maybe putting, I always use Red Bank Green as a demo account because they're a fairly prolific user of our ad formats. It's a small town / city in New Jersey, and you can see up here we have the cube, and also completely open to any kind of ad formats, including the amazing cube. So you have Gold Tinker up here, but then more importantly, you can just see the number of social ads they're running on their sidebars right here. So this is probably pulling from Facebook. These are all social ads just pulling in from client accounts. They used to have normal ads in their sidebar, but they converted almost entirely to these social ads, which is totally up to them. Randy School, preschool. So a lot of these type of social ads really cater to a lot of different advertisers. And if we go down, Pliables, which I think is like a fruit bowl thing. Pinot's Palette, this is a good example of the video, how the video appears. So this is Pinot's Palette, which is like a paint and sip kind of advertiser. You can see you can see it's the video, and there's not really, especially for event venues, Pinot's Palette probably doesn't fit so well into the event venue type of or advertiser category, but for event venues, I saw one for the House of Blues that someone had running the other day. And what other way to bring the energy to a creative than a live show? A lot of times you'll see a 300 by 250 saying like House of Blues, this artist is coming. But if House of Blues actually, posts a video of an artist performing, that really brings energy and kind of attracts the user better than any static banner ad could. Seabright, Sandy Hook Yachts, obviously kind of eye-catching. So that's the way it works. And then is there a minimum number of impressions we need in order to start this program? So the way Broadstreet works is that we have a subscription process. We have a trial, 90-day trial, which is free under 100,000 impressions. After that, it's almost minimal pricing. It just covers bandwidth in the event you have an extremely high traffic site. But then we have a subscription which comes in two different flavors. There's Express Business and Express Agency, and both of those hit different use cases. So I wouldn't say there's a minimum number of impressions, but there is a minimum monthly fee, which is on the pricing page of our website. So all of our ad formats pretty much follow that exact same creation process. So if we go back to advertisers, go back to Instagram example, create new advertisement. Let's just pick something random like the split reveal that just came out. I mentioned that IAB plus, create the split reveal. Everything has a sane default, so you don't really have to enter anything. If I want to make this 250 pixels wide, I could. So why not? So you could say that was really easy to create. Same thing, same list of settings, a different list of settings, and I created that. It took me about 2 seconds. And one thing to note is that all of our ad formats, especially a lot of publishers ask this, they say like, okay, I'm interested in starting the trial, and I want to offer some of these different ad formats. Where do I get the specs for these ads? Like, how do I know what it takes to set them up? So you can click into any one of our formats. Let's just say the sticky note, for example. This just came out. This just came out over the weekend. We already have a publisher using this. It's just a sticky note that goes at the top. So a customer, you can actually see the conversation in our Facebook community group. It's called Broadstreet Community. Just a conversation. Somebody had brought it up and said, "Oh yeah, sticky notes would be cool," and I said, "I like that." So we put it in the queue to have developed, and our developers put it out over the weekend. So here's a sticky note, and you wonder, okay, what does it take to set it up? Well, we have the setup and input information right here. You say message, what color do you want the sticky note to be? Obviously, that classic post-it yellow is the default. Font size, width, height, destination URL, top position, relative to the top of the page, the right position, and then you can set the cap. So obviously, seeing this thing, especially on a mobile device, over and over could get really old really fast. So you can say, okay, only show this to a user 2 times every hour or something like that. So those are the different setups it takes. And then if you want to embed this in your media kit, you can scroll down even further. And then this is an example that you can just copy and paste right into your media kit if it accepts HTML. That works on WordPress depending on your setup, or you can get a plugin for WordPress that'll let you just paste in arbitrary HTML. Or you could run this through DFP and it'll run like a normal ad in DFP. And let's take a look. I think it was StereoNet. Is that nice? I should probably spell it right first. All right, so we're at StereoNet, and you can see that the sticky note reminder: get your international hi-fi show tickets now. A few publishers have this already up and running, just because it's so easy and kind of does get your attention. If I click it, make it go away. I wonder if there's any impression caps set up. Oh, I guess it's a pretty important ad. They want that to keep going. So those are our different ad formats. That's the Impress piece, but I mentioned that it's great to sell these things. It's great to get the advertiser to say yes, but obviously you want it to perform, because otherwise it was all just a gimmick if it doesn't actually perform, because you don't ever want to have to go back to that advertiser after the campaign, report some disappointing numbers, and then you kind of lost the client. You only have so many clients to work with, so you want to keep them all happy and on board. So let's take a look. We'll go to the cube just because it's obnoxious, and we'll take a look. 52859, that's the ID of the ad, and we're going to look at the stats specifically for this cube. So go back, 52859. We'll take our cube, and so here it is in Red Bank Green's dashboard. You can see in all its glory, and we'll click on Advanced Reporting. Oh, wrong link. What I wanted to show you first was the overall reporting. So the overall reporting, according to our stats right here, about 113,000 views in the last month, about 9,000 hovers, 529 clicks. You can see the click-through rate is really high, 0.46%. A lot of us are used to seeing numbers more like 0.06%. That's the internet average according to Google. Some publishers have the low as 0.02%, which is really getting down there. And that's, when your advertisers are seeing those numbers, they're like, I don't know what good is, but that definitely looks bad. So having numbers more like this, 0.46%, that completely shatter the average of a standard banner ad. This is really why Broadstreet does what it does, is that if you can deliver value and you can deliver performance, why would anybody go through Google and Facebook with the shotgun approach of just running a terrible banner ad all over the internet with poor performance, but just allocating budget to kind of get the appropriate performance that they need? Why not just, work with somebody who can deliver something that's higher impact and can deliver more value? Because a cube, you could never traffic through an exchange. You will never be able to buy the amazing cube through Google AdWords, because there are all kinds of rules that prohibit something like the cube from being trafficked through programmatic. It's obviously it's not a standard size. It animates. There are all kinds of reasons that these things can't be trafficked through an exchange. So why not deliver something that actually really does perform to the client? So we have the performance piece, but on the renewal piece, so now you got the numbers, but obviously presenting the numbers is important too. So I was kind of thinking this today, and kind of a strange analogy, but like you can have a really good steak, but if you serve it on a paper plate, it kind of takes away from the presentation. First time I've ever mentioned that analogy, but that's what I was thinking today. Presentation really does matter. I'm going to do a quick question check. No questions. And so we just clicked into the analytics. So now we want to get some deeper reporting on that ad. We got the cube, we got the basic numbers, which is what DFP and OpenX provide. They just give you the numbers. But what if you could provide something deeper? So that's what we'll do here. So we have these extended reports, and I should say automated. So you can set these up so they go out to your advertiser every Monday, the first of every week, the first of every month, or the first of every quarter. And they get these reports PDF form delivered right to their inbox, which is a huge time saver. So in terms of just saving time, speccing out ads and automated reports are huge time savers for a lot of our clients. The ad formats are great for a lot. They love the ad formats, but just the sheer ability to spec out an ad quickly and also generate a report automatically is a big win for a lot of them. So you can see the chart, the different graphs. We have the click-through rate, again, highlighted because it's higher than internet average. If you have your logo uploaded, you have a nice, white labeled logo up here. This just happens to be Red Bank Green's logo. But this is where the report really gets interesting. We have a breakdown by city. So especially if you're a city magazine or a hyperlocal, or just like a regional news organization, like most of our clients, or a radio broadcaster, you kind of deal with a specific geographical area, and your clients probably want to see performance in that area. But DFP and OpenX, for example, don't actually do that. So you have to go back with these numbers that could have been entirely made up. They could have all these clicks could have been from a bot farm on the other side of the world. So Broadstreet will actually, we'll give you some transparency. And again, this is one of those features that was suggested to us by one of our customers years ago, and we ended up building it, and it's ended up being very useful for our customers. So Red Bank, Atlantic Highlands, Long Branch, New York City, Fairhaven, these are all towns within the immediate vicinity of Red Bank. New York a little farther out, but most people, a lot of people work in New York City. Middletown, Little Silver, Shrewsbury, and then we'll go down, we'll get even deeper and say exactly when, where did these clicks take place, who is the internet service provider, which also adds another dimension of, personification. We're just humanizing these numbers as much as we possibly can. Instead of just going with 427 clicks, show you exactly where those clicks actually took place and when, which might provide the advertiser with some insight, in addition to the proof that they are effectively targeting the geographical area that they had hoped to. So a lot of advertisers in our experience, some advertisers, they'll buy for different reasons, right? Some will buy because they're trying to buy influence. Some are buying because they like the publication or hoping for some positive coverage in the future. And but most of them really like the idea of buying something that performs really well, because if you can deliver performance, you kind of have that rock on which your ad sales are actually built. So being able to deliver the performance is it's huge, and don't really have to rely on like, oh well, we have the most popular site in town or some other. Being able to deliver the value is a major win for a lot of our clients. So I mentioned that we have the newsletter category. So Broadstreet does handle, I think we have one more. How do you automate reports? All right, so we'll hit that first. We'll go back to our client inside Broadstreet's dashboard. If we want to automate this report for Gold Tinker, for example, what we'll do is we can edit the advertiser. And the first thing we do is add an administrator. So we just add them by email address. We can optionally send them a welcome, which means they'll have access. They can log in, have like a little advertiser portal where they can see their reporting, and optionally, if you allow, edit their own ads if you want them to. So they could upload, for example, if they're a real estate agent, had new photos for a new property they're trying to sell, they could upload their own photos. But you just add them right here. You can see I have a lot of example email addresses in there. And then what you do, on that same page, once you've added them as an administrator, you just come back here and just check off weekly, monthly, quarterly. So that's all you have to do, and then they'll start getting regularly scheduled automated reports for that time period. So I mentioned Broadstreet does, it works as a plugin to other ad systems and also replaces those ad systems entirely. Most of our clients do use this as a full service ad server. A minority of our customers do use this as just a plugin to Google DFP, for example. And we've had several publishers who started off using us as a plugin and eventually migrated over entirely. And we do handle the migration from other systems in a lot of cases. So we have that all automated. So addressing the topic of newsletters, what we'll do, I'm in my in the client's account and not in our demo account. So what we'll do is, now we're in the sandbox. So let's just say newsletter zone. I don't have anything booked in our newsletter top zone. So a zone is basically an ad unit. It's where an ad appears. So you'll have ad units for maybe your leaderboard, several sidebar positions, maybe in-story positions, bottom of the page positions. And if we want to create a new position where an ad should appear, it's a pretty basic process. So we'll just call this newsletter top. Newsletter top again. All right, so now we created an ad unit, and then if we want to embed that in a newsletter, we'll just go up here and click static. All right, so static is basically the HTML code that I think we were talking about before. This is the HTML that'll go right in the top of your newsletter. So now it just basically becomes a container for ads in your newsletter, and you can target ads to that code. So what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna copy that code right now. We're going to go back to one of our advertisers that we created. So let's take a look at that Instagram example. Let's just say Lululemon is one of our new advertisers. What we'll do is we'll run that in the newsletter zone we just created. So this is an ad, just like we would do on our website if we're using Broadstreet as an ad server. We'll come down here and say, okay, I want to run this. I want it to go live. I'm going to select the zone. I can set a start date and an end date. I'm not going to do it just because I don't really have to right now. And now we have a campaign running. So now if I go back to that zone inside newsletter top again, you can see that that ad is in fact running. But if I wanted to run it in a newsletter, let's take a look. We'll use JS Fiddle. JS Fiddle is just a website for playing around with HTML. So what I'm going to do is paste this in, that HTML for the newsletter zone. So it was just straight HTML. There's no JavaScript, nothing dynamic right here. We're going to run that. I'll just wait on it for a second. All right, so now what we have is that Lululemon ad. And you can see if I drag it, I'm not sure if you can see the dragging part of it, but this is just an image. So in fact, I'm really trying to There we go. So you can see that this is just an image. It is no longer HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Now it is a newsletter-friendly image, and it's also dynamic. So the same dynamicism that you would expect, updating an ad every hour, also works with the newsletter. So it used to be the case where if somebody was going to sponsor a newsletter, very often it wouldn't be a long-term sponsorship. It would be maybe a sponsorship to promote something that was happening that month. Maybe it would be a month-long term. Dynamic newsletter ads and the ability to embed ads in newsletters really open up the possibility to 3 and 6 month terms, or 12-month terms, like long term, where you couldn't previously do that. And like I said, we have a lot of ad formats that are newsletter friendly, and we this weekend again launched a major improvement to the rendering of ads and newsletters. So now these are almost pixel perfect compared to the HTML and JavaScript versions. It used to be like sometimes there were some, it wouldn't render as well as it would on the web as it would in an email, but now that is completely, a completely different case. Renders really, really well. So Broadstreet, there are a few other things that we do that I won't go too far into right now. We do sponsor content tracking. Again, that's just like another type of ad. So growing number of our publishers are relying on sponsored content. If we want to create a sponsored content tracking ad, let's click back into our advertiser, create a new advertisement. And I'll type in sponsored content. And we actually have an entire category of sponsored content. I forgot about that. So in our sponsor content category, we have our tracker, and we also have different things that complement sponsor content. So featured post promotion, you can literally just give this a URL, and 99 times out of 100, it'll pull in all the meta information automatically, get an image, get the headline, everything. So you don't even have to set up the images or anything really. But on top of that, we have the tracker. So just very quickly, we'll just say, what would be, let's call that sponsor content tracker because I can't think of anything more creative. So we create that. And now this is just a tracker that we can insert into a post just like we would with like Google Analytics or one second. All right, sorry, WebEx got my way. So this is a tracker just like we can insert in Google Analytics. I could copy this and paste it into the bottom of my post, and I'll start tracking different metrics like views, unique views, complete reads, how many people got to the bottom of the content, and a few other metrics. And it's all stuff that's kind of hard to dig out of Google Analytics. So that's the reason we did that. Again, this is another thing that was suggested by one of our publishers. So that is kind of the high level what Broadstreet does. We do almost everything that the traditional ad server does, Google DFP, OpenX, but like I said, we really expand our role into the sales and renewal process. One thing we also do, just like our ads typically update by themselves, the reason Broadstreet so effectively does what it does is that we've built a framework for creating these dynamic ads. So we also do custom ad development. So if, for example, you have clients, let's just say a real estate client, for example, who has different properties that are available, that's something that we could feasibly pull into an ad. So we do custom ad development. That's in our Express agency tier, and we can essentially build an ad to be dynamic and pull in whatever content is needed. Or if sometimes our clients have an idea for an ad that is similar to what we do, or maybe one that has nothing to do with anything that we've already built, we can build out that ad concept, make it dynamic or not dynamic, and not even just build the specific creative, but build the template so that creative can be repeatedly stamped out for different clients. So some of our clients, have this pie in the sky idea of an ad format that they would charge, maybe double their rates or triple, whatever their pricing idea is. I'm saying this would be really big. We could totally sell this, but we don't have anyone to build it. That's what Broadstreet does. So we are a creative shop too. So that is the roundup of our best features And at this point, if you guys have any questions, I'm assuming we might have a couple more questions that have popped up. Now, the last one was how we automate reports. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So I will, I'll go on mute for a second, and if I see any questions pop up, I'll come back on. And I can demonstrate something, answer any questions about something you think I might have left out, demonstrate a specific ad format or creating a certain ad format. I'd be happy to do any of that. So if you have anything, just go ahead and type out that question, and I'll address it. So I'll jump on mute now, and if I see anything pop up, I'll come on off. All right, so we got a question. We use Constant Contact. Do I just embed that code into one of their templates and it auto-populates? And can you go over that again? Yes. So the way that works is the code that you would embed is basically our zone code right here. So if you have Constant Contact, you would create an ad unit just like we did before. Go up here and click New Zone. Really, the only thing to creating a zone is giving it a name. It just has to exist. And then if you called it Newsletter Top, for example, you create it, you click into it, and then on the top right, you click Get Zone Code. So the only thing to be aware of is that you want to use the static code instead of the JavaScript code, because newsletter or email clients, including Gmail and every good email client with good security practices, won't run JavaScript, but they will run regular HTML, and that's what the static code is. And it would probably be helpful if we, call this static/HTML. But you just copy this and paste it right into your Constant Contact template. And one thing you might want to do, by default, it says the max width is 100%. You could set, a style. Obviously, there's a little bit of, HTML involved. You probably can just drop this in as is. But if you wanted to limit the size of the ad, let's just say you knew for a fact that you only had a 300 wide pixel space to put that in, you could just set this to like 300 px. So this max width setting is here because it generally works with everything, and but if you need to customize it, you certainly can. So you just copy this code and paste it right into Constant Contact, and you'd be all set. Then once you're done with that, then you want to go into advertisers, create an ad if you haven't already, and run that ad inside that newsletter zone. So just like we did with Lululemon, we ran that inside the newsletter top zone, and then it would start appearing in your newsletters. And I think we also, if you end up getting lost later on, if you click on support and go back to our knowledge base, if we type newsletter, you can see that we have a help article on that. So there are a couple different ways to do it. Number 2 is the version that I was discussing. There's another way of doing it with RSS and MailChimp. There might be a couple different reasons to do that, but I think the easiest is just using the process I demonstrated. And there's actually a video to show that too. So I forgot all about that. The video explaining the newsletter setup. All right, cool. You are certainly welcome. So what I'll do is I'll jump on mute again and wait out any questions. And if a minute passes and we don't have any questions, then we'll call it a day. And I'd be happy to. I'll give everyone my contact info, and if you have any follow-up questions, you go ahead and reach out to me. All right, so it looks like that's probably the end of the questions, so we'll call it a day there. Thank you for joining. Um, I hope you saw or got some value out of this and saw everything that you wanted to see. But if you didn't, you can always reach out to me or you can ask any questions. I'm Kenny at broadstreetads.com, and you can email me or you can email frontdesk@broadstreetads.com, and you'll end up either getting me or an account manager. So thank you for joining. Definitely email if you have any questions. If you do sign up, if you haven't already, there's a 90-day trial. So you can kick around, check out our different ad formats, set them up. You can pitch them to your advertisers, see how they like them, because obviously we want we want your clients to like what we have too before you jump on board. So that's why we have a long trial, because obviously everyone's sales cycle isn't a couple weeks, sometimes a little longer. So um, if you're in the trial, if you have any questions, reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help you out. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. And because I did record this, I'll send out the video link afterwards. So take care. Have a great day.